Sean Salisbury here. You know, there's a position on the field. I've talked about tight end offensively that's a huge difference maker, the way they use them now offensively. Let me focus on the safeties in this league. We know about Bob Sanders, who last year was my choice of Defensive Player of the Year, and I think he's the pound for pound, along with probably a guy like Clinton Portis, as tough football players you'll ever see ever. But I'm focusing on two guys because their defense are at the top of the league right now, and we obviously, let me back up for a second, miss a guy like Sean Taylor, not only as a person, but what a great player he was, but more missed as a person. Obviously, you can go around the league, and I can point to safety after safety who's a difference maker. But two defenses right now, the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, both in the AFC, sit at the top of the heap and can knock you around and beat you any way you want. They'll play you in the parking lot. They'll play you in a phone booth. They'll make you play in a phone booth. That's the way they are. They'll play physical. They can finesse you. They can be mean. They can be intimidating. And those defenses are led by two safeties. You got Ed Reed for the Baltimore Ravens, who does, I know, inside of football, but we don't talk enough about Ed Reed. Ed Reed is the best ball hawker I've ever seen. The guy just, when the ball's in the air, knows how to get it. He can return an interception forever. He can run after the catch. They'll put him back on key punts or kick returns if they have to. Ed Reed is a special, special talent. He's smart. He sees where things are going. The Baltimore Ravens, while it's always been Ray Lewis's defense, and I get it, it's Ed Reed's defense. That is as good a safety as you'll ever see. If you can line up with Ed Reed on your football team, excuse me, you're going to win most of the time. I'm just so, when I watch him play, I don't focus on offense. I focus on Ed Reed. I focus on what he's doing and how he keys the quarterback and receivers and routes and then drives on the football. This is a guy you can line up anywhere on the field. I could line up Ed Reed at outside linebacker and he'd make every play. It's the same with Troy Polamalu. You never hear Troy complain. All he does is play. He knocks you in the mouth. He gets after it. He catches the ball, leading the league in interceptions. Safeties, usually a lot of times, you got to be lucky. But Polamalu's interceptions aren't lucky. It's called timing and being in the right place. And when you got a guy who's a great interceptor and has great hands in Troy Polamalu, who can run and who's physical, but he also spends a lot of time near the line of scrimmage, folks, knocking people in the mouth, taking on a run, taking on a guard, taking on a puller, taking on a fullback, taking on a tight end. He's up there at the line of scrimmage and is still able to be versatile enough to show blitz or get out of blitz and go back in coverage, and is also able to drive on a football that was intended for somebody clear across the field and get his way over there, thinking first that he's going to hit the guy in the mouth, but also coming up with a spectacular catch. Troy Polamalu and Ed Reed are the reasons. There's a lot of reasons. Let me not get ahead of myself. But they are the bell cow, and they are the dominant force on both these defenses. And defenses, people say, win championships. I also love good offenses because if you can't score, you can't win. But when Polamalu and Ed Reed are on the field, things change. Normally, you have to locate a defensive end like Dwight Freeney and know where he is at every time the ball snapped. Every time the ball snapped, you better know where Troy Polamalu is, and you better know where Ed Reed is. Because if you don't, I assure you, they know where you are, and they know where the football is. Two safeties, because it's not a glamour position on the offensive side that, yes, we talk about, and yes, they get publicity. Polamalu more than Ed Reed, just because maybe it's, and don't misunderstand the fact that because he's got long hair, Troy Polamalu shaved his head, he'd still be knocking people out, okay? These are great character football players and great leaders for their football teams, and as long as they're in the lineup, the Baltimore Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, regardless of what happens around them, have a chance to win everything. Because when you got character, leadership, and great football players, not just great athletes, great football players like Troy and Ed, you got a chance to do a lot. You could name those two defensive MVPs every year and never, ever, ever, as long as they're on the field, and never, ever, ever wish you didn't vote for them. That's how good they are. And the safety positions is as dominant a position now as we have in football. Just judging for what Bobby Sanders did last year, it's amazing what you can do. And most of those guys could line up somewhere else and make the Pro Bowl too. Special. Troy Polamalu, Ed Reed. Special year for their defenses and two great talents. I'm Sean Salisbury for Open Sports. Watch them, key on them instead of the great running back or quarterback or receiver ones, and watch what happens. And there's an intimidation factor about those two that will make you think twice about going across the middle or even putting a uniform on. Sean Salisbury here again for Open Sports.
So you think you can tackle a pro? There's only one way to find out. Click on fantasy at opensports.com.